Hey, Southern Nevada. Whenever I'm in a bar or restaurant, I always order tap water and usually get the joke, "You mean Lake Mead's finest?" Well, did you know it's actually sourced from the Rocky Mountains? And despite its hard, mineral-rich taste, your water meets safety standards and keeps you healthy, so don't twist up hard water with its quality. It's tested 300,000 times, ensuring your tap water meets or surpasses the highest quality standards. You got a lot on your plate. SNWA is taking care of what's in your glass. So learn simple ways to enhance the taste at snwa.com. SNWA is a not-for-profit water agency. After Las Vegan Shane Tamura was identified as the gunman who killed 4 recently in New York City, New York Governor Kathy Hochul blamed Nevada's allegedly lax gun laws. But what is working or not about our red flag laws, the ones that are designed to identify and stop potential shooters like this from having access to firearms? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we talk with Assemblymember Sandra Jauregui, one of the architects behind Nevada's red flag laws, about how they're supposed to work and if they do. Oh, and after the interview, stick around for a conversation sponsored by Aid for AIDS Nevada about their annual Black and White Party and the uncertainty nonprofits are facing in Las Vegas right now. It's Wednesday, September 10th. I'm Dayvid Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Assemblymember Jauregui, gun control has long been a hot topic of debate in our country. So what do the so-called red flag laws that you've championed in the Nevada legislature bring that's new or different to the table?
I don't think they're new. In Nevada, we call them high-risk protection orders. And high-risk protection orders were part of a larger comprehensive gun violence prevention package that I passed in 2019. Assembly Bill 291 banned bump stocks, which was the technology used in the horrific, October 1, Route 91 mass shooting here in Las Vegas. But we didn't want to stop there. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to make sure that we were passing gun violence prevention laws that would actually make a difference in keeping our communities safe. And so the policies that we packaged together were banning bump stock technology, which I'm so happy that we did, because there was regulations on a federal level that banned them, and everyone was telling me, we don't need this state law. There's federal regulations. And lo and behold, those federal regulations were scaled back. And now Nevada is one of the few states who has a ban on bump stocks. We also implemented child safe storage laws that in that bill. We reduced the blood alcohol content that you could have while in possession of a firearm because it exceeded that of a DUI. And we also implemented high-risk protection orders. And high-risk protection orders work in 2 different ways. You can file for a temporary or an extended. A temporary removes firearms from a house for 7 days. An extended high-risk protection order can remove firearms from a house for up to a year. And law enforcement officers can apply for a high-risk protection order. Family members could apply for one, or household members.
They could file these petitions essentially somewhere in the courts, I'd imagine, or elsewhere, get these type of protective orders. And then that person would have a much more difficult time, if not an impossible time, trying to get a hold of a new firearm or be in possession of one if they're stopped. Is that a good summary?
Correct. They can go and file them with the courts. They show the application. Then it's either granted or not granted. And again, law enforcement can go back if a petition is granted and then remove any firearms from the household. And unfortunately, we've just, the high-risk protection orders became effective January 1st, 2020, and we just haven't seen them as widely used as I would have liked here in Nevada. In other states, they're so popular, and I think about, maybe just needing to do more education. So that's something that I'm working on over the next year, doing more education on what high risk protection orders are, because I'm assuming people just don't know they exist. And when they hear high risk protection order, if you are just a family member, you do not know that means, a removal of firearms from the household.
Yeah, I think people are far more aware of restraining orders or protective orders, but this is definitely a very specialty, pinpoint type of a protective order. I'm looking up some stats here. It says in 2024, there were just 27 orders that wound up getting filed. So that does seem like it's a relatively small number. I'd imagine who would be otherwise eligible for that type of restraining.
Yeah, and the reality is that's one of the years with the highest numbers of high risk protection orders applied for in Nevada. So I pulled. There's varying numbers. So if you go and search, I know that the Nevada Independent had reported 27 to 28, but I had just been in contact with the Attorney General's office, and the Attorney General's chief of staff sent me some numbers over, and in 2024 they had showed only 22 high risk protection orders, and that's a huge jump. So, but what gives me hope is that I think we just need to run a robust education campaign, and
Hmm.
that will increase the numbers. Because in 2022, Attorney General Ford came to the Interim Finance Committee and asked for a $400,000 grant from ARPA dollars to create this high risk protection order education campaign. So if you look at the numbers in 2020, according to the Attorney General's office, there was 4 orders issued. In 2021, there was 4 orders issued. In 2022, 8, in 23, 15, and in 24, 22. So he received money in 22 and then started conducting trainings. And the training they're doing is to actual law enforcement agencies.
Hmm.
I I believe from the conversation we had last week, they have one more training left and then they're out of money. But we see an uptick. Once the training started, the number of protection orders that were issued increased. And so I'm hopeful that if we can continue doing these education campaigns to law enforcement and then also to constituency groups, like to members of the public, like let's go work with our domestic violence coalition groups, let's go work with other groups to make sure that we're getting the word out. Maybe the Nevada Children's Advocacy Alliance, because for me, when I first introduced high risk protection orders, I was like, hey, firearms are the number one cause of death for children in Nevada and across the country, to be honest, but in Nevada, and the majority of that is by suicide. So hey, this is a good way to get the word out there about, can we save some lives? And so I want to create robust education over the next year on these.
Yeah, I appreciate that it's more people that are filing what they feel to be a very important measure to save lives, but it does seem to be a modest increase, even with all that education to law enforcement.
I mean, to go from 4 protection orders issued in one year to over 20, I think it's a pretty big jump, and I'm hoping that it continues to grow. But I think we
Mm.
need to continue to do education. That was with money, that the Attorney General had requested a grant, and I'm grateful that he did, because had he not taken the initiative to even bring education, we might be living in a world where we're still issuing only 4, right? But the good news is, I had a Zoom with Johns Hopkins University. They actually have an extreme risk protection order resource center. And I'm going to be connecting them with the Attorney General's office, because they actually come out to states and do trainings for free. So we're
Oh,
definitely going to get good bang for your buck there. Free is the right free is the right
free is
price for
always the right price tag. Yeah, no, I get
Yeah.
that. So let's go to the big question: do they work, and how do we know?
Well, I think that all gun violence prevention laws work, in conglomeration together. High risk protection orders alone aren't going to stop every crime with a firearm. But here in Nevada, we implemented high risk protection orders and then also banned ghost guns, which was a workaround for high risk protection orders, right? So
Mm.
if a prohibited person could not walk into a gun dealer and buy a firearm, they could then go online and order a ghost gun kit, which is an unserialized frame or receiver. It's a kit that you can build at your table in 30 minutes, and now you have a fully functioning firearm, right? So those
Yeah.
two, I mean, so if you can't buy a gun, you go and you buy a ghost gun a kit, now you build a firearm and now you have a gun, right? So no law is going to work 100%, but it doesn't mean we stop trying. Every year we are chipping away at the problem, and our laws together are going to make our community safer.
Now, you've undoubtedly heard the old pushback that if you do continue to make these laws restricting access to guns, that only criminals are going to be getting the guns because they never follow the rules. So you're just kind of wasting time, and you're probably keeping guns out of good law-abiding citizens' hands who maybe are overreacting. I don't know. But I have heard that pushback, and I'm sure you have too, including, shades of the Second Amendment. How do you respond to those?
No, law-abiding citizens can walk into any dealer or any private seller, enter a contract with any private seller and purchase a firearm. There's nothing prohibiting anybody from purchasing a firearm. They can easily walk into a dealer, buy it from a private seller, right? All they have to do is pass a background check. We have not in any way restricted access to the Second Amendment. I am a firm believer that all like we can do this. We can, pass policies that protect the Second Amendment and protect second graders. Like we can do this.
So, do you think personally that there are people out there who should never own a gun ever?
I think we have laws that say if you have been convicted of a felon, right, or if you are a danger to yourself, or to others, then you are restricted from purchasing a firearm, and that's what we're trying to do. I am not trying to restrict it, and I am not here to say that, like, hey, nobody should own firearms. No, we're here to balance the policies that we pass to make sure that the policies that we're passing are keeping our community safe while still protecting the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I guess just to wrap that one up with a little bit of a bow, the argument is, well, what you're not doing with any of the laws that you're creating is stopping, people who are on the street with a bunch of unregistered guns in the back of their trunk, selling them to people who are going to use those to rob people or hurt people. So what is really the point,
Yeah,
right?
well,
That's
but yeah, but laws 100% of the time don't stop all criminals, right? We have DUI laws, we have seatbelt laws, and we still have people who drive without seatbelts or drive while under the influence. We can't expect every law to work 100%, but what we do expect the laws to do is to be effective in making our communities safer.
the hottest night of the year is back. AFAN's 39th annual Black and White Party taking over Chaos Nightclub inside the Palms Casino Resort on Saturday, September 20th. This year's Wild West themed celebration is hosted by Frederick Godinez and Alexander Stabler of the design studio Frederick Alexander, and it's your chance to experience an unforgettable night of fashion, entertainment, and community. The entertainment for the evening is stacked. Simone and Mirage from RuPaul's Drag Race, Fantasy, David Hernandez and Kyle Koo from American Idol, the cast of Piranha and Gypsy nightclubs, the Chippendales, and more. Proceeds support Aid for AIDS of Nevada's critical programs, providing housing, transportation, food, and medical case management for those living with or affected by HIV/AIDS. Visit afanlv.org to learn more and purchase your tickets today. That's afanlv.org.
Hey y'all, it's executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson here. And I was never really much of a smoothie or a meals on the go kind of person. And then I became a mom. So now between daycare drop-offs, swim classes, doctor's appointments, and oh yeah, working full-time, Huel Black Edition is exactly the kind of boost my morning needs. I got the Black Edition Vanilla, so yummy, and it's a complete meal with 40 grams of plant-based protein and 27 vitamins and nutrients that keep me full and ready to tackle my day. There's no added sugar, it's gluten-free, and super easy to shake up and take on the go. And hey, they just dropped something totally new. Huel Daily Greens Ready to Drink, a sparkling canned beverage that comes in flavors like blueberry, apple, and peach, with 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, and just 25 calories. So try Huel with 15% off for new customers today using our code LASVEGAS at Huel.com/Las Vegas. Fuel your best performance with Huel today.
So let's get to the news of kind of the moment. It wasn't terribly long ago, and I know you saw the news. We all did. The very high-profile shooting in Manhattan by a Las Vegas man with an alleged mental health challenged history. It was fairly documented now. Some of the news reports have come out that this person had been in the system. In other words, it wasn't someone who wasn't known to at least mental health professionals. Now, New York governor raised issues over whether Nevada's gun laws are strict enough or even being enforced properly. So, in response to her criticism of our state, did Nevada mess up?
Well, I do know that we have high risk protection orders, right? And my point to education, does Shane's family know about high risk protection orders? Had
Mm.
they been educated on them, could they have called and and had a high risk protection order filed, maybe not even a temporary one, but an extended protection order? And I don't know how. I know that they're from what for conversations I've had, I've been told that there had been two incidences where law enforcement interacted with Shane and had legal 2000 him.
Yeah.
And so
Which
I
is
don't
the
know how.
involuntary commitment for our listeners who don't
Yes.
know, that they felt that there was enough of a basis to literally take him off the street and put him into a mental facility for some manner of observation for the 72 hours.
Correct. And I don't know when those encounters with law enforcement happened, if they were a year from the New York shooting or less than a year from the New York shooting. I don't
Hmm.
know those details. But what I do know is that Shane is someone because he had those legal 2000s, maybe would have been a candidate for a high risk protection order. So we
Mm.
need to get information out to these. Did those law enforcement officers know about high risk protection orders? Did the parents, did his family, because it was his mom who called law enforcement, right? Did the family know about it? Because there's so many eligible individuals, people living in the home, who could have filed that order but didn't. And I don't know where the blame lies, or if there is any blame to be had. Maybe it's just more education. And so as the author of that bill, I want to make sure that it's impactful and that it's being used, and that we are filing these orders to prevent future tragedies. And so I'm committed to making sure that we're getting the education out to everyone, to law enforcement, to members of the public, to medical health professionals, to the judiciary, to attorneys, anyone who can help as a conduit.
I fully appreciate the education aspect of it, but like with anything, it can be complicated. And sometimes people just rather not do anything than do something that's hard. I wonder, you're the proponent of education about these kind of red flaggy laws, or for these, protective orders for sure. What do you think would be
I
the sorry.
I don't want to say, hey, I think you use the word that, things are hard and people don't want to do hard things, but I don't think it's hard, because you have states like Florida where these have been used thousands of time, right? Thousands. The last time I had checked, I think it had been like over 15,000, but um,
Wow.
they're not that hard. Like, people use them, and actually, I just did a quick search, and it looks like Florida has used them over 20,000 times. They've issued, and that's because there's huge law enforcement buy-in. So I think educating law enforcement about how easy these can be, right?
I know a lot of what you've proposed stems from your very personal experience being present at the horrifying Route 91 Harvest Festival, which sadly has the distinction of being the largest mass shooting in modern history. Did 1 October change the conversation on guns in Nevada, do you think?
I think Route 91, the 1 October tragedy, was a tragedy that impacted our entire community, not just the people who were there. You felt it throughout the state. You saw it in the number of people who turned out to help, to donate blood, to do everything they could to help the community heal. And so I think a lot of things happened that allowed us to pass the comprehensive gun violence prevention package and universal background checks in 2019. To be completely honest with you, I think having Governor Sisolak in the executive branch and signing the policy was what made that happen. Having me there to champion the issue and share my personal story um, helped. Would we have done as much if I hadn't been there? I don't know. I know that other legislators had talked about banning bump stocks, but I wanted to do more, because I never wanted a family to have to go through what I went through. So I
Mm.
came up with a package that was, the blood alcohol content, high risk protection orders. We ended up incorporating child safe storage laws, and then we banned bump stocks. And at one point, I also had preemption in there, but we ended up having to take that out in order to move the policy.
What's
But
preemption in
Oh,
this
oh, I'll
context?
get to that right now, because it's
Uh,
very important. But I passed that policy because we had a Democratic Assembly, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic executive branch. Had there been a different governor, I don't know if we would have signed that, because over the last two sessions, we've had a Republican governor, and I haven't been able to get one gun violence prevention bill signed. But
mm.
preemption. So unfortunately, 1 October happened on 1 October 2017. The state of Nevada or our community wasn't able to do a single thing to keep our community safe, we could not take action until the first day of the legislative session, which is the first Monday in February of the year we go into session, which happened to be 2019. So we had to wait over 1 year and 2.5 months before we could even talk about laws that would keep our community safe. Because in 2015, when Republicans controlled the executive branch, the Senate, and the Assembly, they passed a law called preemption, which preempted any local government from regulating firearms. They said
Mm.
that the state was the sole regulator of firearms. And when that bill was signed and passed, every single city and every single county in Nevada had to destroy every single law relating to firearms. And so think about it. After when October happened, the city, that happened in Clark County. Clark County couldn't take any steps whatsoever to keep their community safe because of what had happened during the 2015 session under Republican control. And I believe that cities and counties, because they are closer to the constituency that they represent than the state legislature, they should be able to enact laws that are stricter than the floor. Use the state as the floor, use the state law as the floor. But if they want to pass ordinances that make their community safer by passing gun violence prevention
That are
ordinances, then they
potentially more restrictive to keep guns out of people's hands
yeah,
who. Okay.
anything that would apply, right? They're closer. They still have to answer to voters just like we do, right? But they should be able to take steps that keeps their community safe, because what Clark County might need for gun violence prevention because of our population might be very different than what Esmeralda County needs because of population, or what Washoe County needs, or what uh, any other, Lyon County needs, or
Yeah.
Nye County.
What practical advice? I mean, what do you want our listeners to know about how to make the red flags work for them?
I think, familiarize yourself with, the high risk protection orders or extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws, right? We have to let people know that they're out there. And if the process feels too daunting, contact law enforcement, right? For help. But you petition the district court. You can find the applications online. But I don't necessarily want to say, what can we do to make them easier, because right now we can't do anything.
Mhm.
Our hands are locked because we just wrapped up our legislative session this year, and we will not be able to go back into fix if we need to fix anything, if we want to change them to make them, easier for law enforcement officers, until 2027. So think about that. We cannot make any changes to our high risk protection order laws until February 2027, when we can start the discussion on them. So in the meantime, I think we need to talk about it, right? We need to talk about that there are high risk protection orders that you can apply to your district court, that you can have firearms temporarily removed for 7 days. It's not a forever, it's for 7 days, or you can have them removed for up to 1 year. And also, if you do know someone maybe who isn't a household member of yours, that maybe you can't file a high risk protection order because you don't live there, you can talk to them about the other law that we passed, the voluntary self surrender.
Mhm.
Talk to that person and say, hey, if you're experiencing a crisis, you yourself can go and self surrender your firearms for any time period, to any law enforcement agency or any gun dealer with no questions asked. So I think getting
Yeah.
the word out there about the laws that exist is a great start. So thank you, Dayvid, for having this discussion, because I think it's really important that we talk to people and that people know that these laws exist.
In your heart of hearts, and I know a lot of different motivators come to you, do you think that if some of these common sense laws, as you described them, and some of the laws that you've passed since 1 October were in effect, what we know about the shooter there, that this might have either prevented the tragedy or done something?
I don't know. And there's no way to ever know, Dayvid, right?
Mm.
Anything that we say is just a guess because we don't know. But what I care most about is that even if we prevent one death going forward, that is enough.
Yeah. Well, last thing, you're not going to be the advocate in the legislature for these type of, laws and red flag laws, et cetera, because you have announced that you're not returning to the Nevada legislature. So what is next for you?
That I don't know yet. I'm still having, I'm still enjoying taking a break. So
Hmm.
I am elected until November 2026. So my work here isn't done. I have until November 2026 to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can around high risk protection orders. I want my legacy to be that when I left the assembly, when I left the Nevada state legislature, I did everything I can to make our community safer. That work around gun violence prevention to me has been one of the most meaningful and personal things I have done. So what's next? I don't know. I'm really enjoying spending time with my family and friends and going back to work. Those are the things that you kind of neglect over over the
Hmm.
time of being elected and running every 2 years. So I'm gonna give myself till the fall until I make any major decisions.
Is it safe to say that you're still going to be involved in gun violence prevention no matter what you end up doing?
Always, always.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today here on CityCast Las Vegas.
And thank you for having me.
And listener, don't go anywhere. In just a second, we've got a segment sponsored by AFAN about how the Black and White Party will benefit their mission to provide support for adults and children affected by HIV/AIDS in Southern Nevada. Hey, it's David here with Antioco Carrillo, Executive Director, and Andrew Ryan, the Marketing and Events Director of AFAN. So, Antioco, we have been hearing a lot about uncertainty around nonprofit funding and research. How is that impacting organizations like AFAN and the people you serve?
Hi, David. Thank you for having us. It has been very challenging over the last 6 months, several months, because uncertainty always creates anxiety. And anxiety is not only felt within the organization, it's also felt with the clients. So the clients have a tendency to just think twice before they access services. So for us, knowing that there may be some changes in funding, it's problematic because it stops us from planning for the future the way we planned before and from continuing the provision of services that we had planned in the past. Why? Because clients may not feel comfortable coming and accessing services, or we may not be able to have the services available as a result of changes in funding. And if we don't have resources available, then clients are going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So are you saying that a lot of the community that you serve is feeling a little intimidated right now by some of the policies of the government and the uncertainty of whether or not, medicine or care or services are even going to be available when they go to AFAN?
Absolutely, because part of the challenge is that if there's any changes in funding, any modification in how the funds are distributed to the community, that has ripple effect down to the client. That effect affects the bottom line. People are feeling very uncomfortable. Many times people feel that there's no more services available, and as a result, they neglect their health, and we will have a problem again with HIV. So the other concern that I have is that if there's any changes at any level of HIV prevention funding, the infections will continue to rise. Right now, we have an average of 500 people that are newly diagnosed with HIV in Clark County, 500 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I am concerned that if there's some uncertainty of funding, those numbers are going to really grow tremendously, and it's going to be a challenge for us to contain it.
Yeah, I mean, AFAN has been a long time in our community. They don't just help the LGBTQ community, but anyone who is impacted. So for anyone listening who wants to help, what are some of the most impactful ways that people can really step up and support AFAN?
They can go to our website and they can visit our website and donate. Whatever amount is always welcome. That'll keep the level of services we have, and that'll keep the ability for us to continue expanding some of the services we have in light of all this uncertainty. Also, they can certainly attend our events. and purchase tickets and make sure that they are actively involved and pay attention to our social media to see all the events that we have. When they support our events, inevitably they support our programming.
Yeah, and one of the biggest events, really, of the year for all of Las Vegas is the Big Black and White Gala. I've been in the past. It's always an incredible time. Andrew, I want to bring you in. How would you describe the experience and what guests can expect this year at the Big Black and White Gala?
Well, the Black and White Party is the most anticipated charity event of the year in Las Vegas, mostly because it's so different. It's not a plated dinner. It's not a sit-down event. It's a party, and it's a costume party as well. This party started out of the need to fill the food pantry for AFAN, and people were encouraged to bring generic black and white cans of food. So that's what started the dress code. And now that we've evolved, the dress code has become wear as much black and white as you want or as little as you can get away with.
Yeah, it's funny you say it's not a sit-down event. I think if you sit down, you're really missing out. It's really a fluid event where people are dancing their butts off, and everyone really does look fabulous. I think the worst outfit is still amazing.
And, we encourage people to move around, like you said, because there's photo activations, there's liquor sponsors that do liquor samplings, we have food activations, so many things to do when you can move around the party, see your friends. It's inside, outside. So there's really something for everyone.
Yeah. And where is it being held this year?
At the Palms, which we've done several times over the years. They're sort of one of our home away from homes.
Yeah. No, I used to go way back when it was at the Hard Rock. So many, many years ago. So where can listeners grab their tickets? And are there any insider tips like VIP perks or can't miss moments for those who are planning to attend?
Definitely. So afanlv.org is our website. That's where you can pick up tickets. We still have a few VIP tables left where you can get bottle service, very limited. Those always sell out. But what I would encourage people to do if you're interested in giving a little bit more this year is look at the VIP tickets and the VIP Plus tickets because we have an hour open bar during the VIP reception. So you can really start off the night right with an open bar for the first hour. And then once the main event starts at 9 o'clock, you're ready to party. And we have back-to-back entertainment from shows up and down the strip, special entertainment coming in from out of town. So a lot of fun, something new and exciting. Every 15 minutes is going to be on that stage from 9 p.m. until midnight.
Yeah, no, the entertainment is top notch. People, like I said, dancing their butts off to the best music, and just the visuals alone, absolutely worth it. And Tiyoko and Andrew, thank you so much for being here. And again, check out afanlv.org to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening. And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, please go tell a friend. You could also rate our show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. Don't forget, you could support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.